Hello, everyone. Welcome to this set of the CBAP, that is the Certified Business Analysis Exam Style Question and Answers. These questions are based directly on the BABOK. The BABOK stands for the Business Analysis Book of Knowledge Guide, making this an excellent way for you to prepare for your CBAP or for your ECBA exam. And this will also strengthen your business analysis knowledge and decision making while working as a business analyst. The questions are scenario based, which means they will mirror the kind of questions you would face both on the exam and in your real business analysis work day to day. This will give you a chance to test how well your thinking aligns with the CBAP exam and also with the BABOK. I believe that this is a powerful way for you to prepare by spending time working through the scenarios. And I truly believe you can walk into the exam confident and ready to pass your exam. Okay, so let's move into our first question. An organization is undergoing a large scale transformation to replace its outdated systems and transition all business operations to a modern digital platform. So this is a digital transformation and they are migrating their solutions. A business analyst has been assigned to perform a gap analysis to ensure a structured and effective transition. So please note that what the BA is expected to do here is a gap analysis. So I'm thinking the question will be more around gap analysis. After completing a detailed assessment of the current state, which captures existing capabilities, processes, and limitations, and what should the business analyst focus on next to continue the gap analysis? So the BA is performing the gap analysis. The BA has concluded the current state analysis. So the question now is that what should the BA focus on next after completing the current state analysis? Let's look at our options. A, identify key constraints that may limit system implementation. Okay. Analyze stakeholder roles and responsibilities for system adoption. Yeah, that's looks more like a current state, not a future state. Develop a high-level roadmap for post-implementation support. Yeah, the roadmap is your future state, but let's see if we have a better answer. Identify and document the required capabilities for the future state. I think I'm going to go in with D. And the reason is because for our gap analysis, there are three main things that we do. Number one, we do our current state analysis. Then we perform our future state analysis. And then we work on our change strategy. So I want you to take note of that. Then work on our change strategy. Now, the trade strategy moves us from our current state to our future state. This business analyst has done the current state analysis, and the next thing to be done is the future state analysis. So D is the best answer. I hope you understand that, and I also hope that you pick the same answer. So let's move on to the next question. Yeah, that's D is the answer. The next question, a business analyst has collaborated with culture stakeholders to rank requirements. Okay, so we're ranking requirements for a new financial system. During this process, the business analyst discovers that certain highly ranked requirements clash with critical regulatory mandates. So we have regulatory mandates, and we also have high requirements, our high ranking requirements, risking a substantial fine if ignored. What is the BA's next step to resolve this conflict? So we are ranking requirements, we have high priority requirements, and we also have regulatory mandates. The problem is that if the high ranking requirements do not align with our regulatory mandate, then we could get a fine. Okay, so let's look at the options. Evaluate the potential value of the conflicting stakeholder requirements. Potential value. Okay, I don't think that is a good answer, but let's move on. Revise the prioritization to align with the mandatory requirements. I like this. I like this because I like this, but we'll talk about that. Assess risk associated with prioritization, prioritizing stakeholder requirements over compliance. This is talking about risk assessment, maybe not for now. Define a future state excluding the regulatory requirement. Now, I want to say, if you have regulatory mandate, never ever ignore regulatory mandate. Regulatory mandate is very important, it's strategic, and it's critical to the success of any organization. So for that reason, I'm going to go with D. I'm not going to go with D. D is a no-no. So I believe the answer is revise the prioritization to align with mandatory regulatory requirements. Regulatory requirements are so important. If your project is born out of a regulatory demand, or if your project to be impacted by a regulatory mandate, you need to prioritize the regulatory requirements above any other requirements. So please do not fall for that, both in your both in this exam and also while you're working as a business analyst. Let's move to the next question. Yeah, the answer is number B. Yeah, so we got that. That is B. Number three, a multinational organization with a widespread workforce and numerous IT platforms employs several business analysts. Okay, so we have several PAs working on this project who collaborate with diverse stakeholders to define requirements. When reviewed independently, the requirements appear logical and beneficial to their respective approvals. However, during the solution development phase, inconsistencies emerge among them. Okay, so the requirements on their own are logical and beneficial, but when we are linking those requirements during the software development phase, there are inconsistencies. The senior BA proposes using traceability to identify these discrepancies earlier. To what should the BA link the requirements to achieve this? Okay, so a senior BA is proposing using traceability to link our discrepancies. Now that should have been done earlier. Yeah, I think that's what the proposal is. So to what should the BA link the requirements to achieve this? Stakeholder responsibilities? No. If we are doing traceability, we we don't link requirements to stakeholder responsibility. So that is a no-no. Features of the solution. Exactly. So remember, when you are doing your traceability, yes, and one thing to note, this is done during solution development phase. It means that we need to be linking our requirements to the solution. We need to be linking our requirements to the solution. And in doing that, we can identify gaps and fix some of those discrepancies. So I believe the answer is going to be B, but let's move on to other questions. Departmental processes, linking requirements to departmental processes. Yes, but I don't think that will answer this question because we are in the solution development phase. So I will say a no to that. Enterprise objectives, I will also say a no to that. So because we are in the solution development phase, our requirements should be linked or traced to our solution features. And that is why B is the right answer. So B suggests that the issue is surfacing because traceability was not done to the solution, and that's why we are having that issue. Okay, so I hope you got that same answer. Let's check what the answer is. Yes, the answer is B. So we got that right. Okay, so let's move to our fourth question. In a project spanning various specialized fields, a business analyst shares a requirement outline first created for an initial set of stakeholders. So we have requirements that were created for a set of stakeholders with a separate set who have a distinct technical perspective. Okay, so it was first created the requirements were first created for initial set of stakeholders, But now we have a separate set of stakeholders with technical expertise. Okay. Because of their specialized knowledge, this second set finds the outline perplexing and voices apprehension. How can the BA reduce the apprehension felt by this second set of stakeholders? So we have requirements that were drafted for one stakeholder group, and now we want to apply those same set of requirements for another group that is technical. So our question is asking, and the second group is not happy with the requirements. So how can the BA reduce the apprehension felt by this second set of stakeholders? Let's look at our options. Deliver a tailored model suited to the second stakeholders. I perfectly agree with this. So you can't take requirements that were specific to a group of stakeholders and migrate it to another group of stakeholders that think differently. It's always important to tailor your requirements or tailor your model, to your new stakeholders. Second option, conduct a prioritization session with the second set of stakeholders. I don't think the problem is prioritization, so I'll say no to this. Provide a cost-benefit analysis for the second set of stakeholders. No, that's not the problem. It's not about cost-benefit analysis. Distribute a questionnaire to the second set of stakeholders. No. The right answer is deliver a tailored model suited to the second set of stakeholders. So the answer will be A. Let's check what we have. Awesome. We got that. So the answer is A. So remember, if you have requirements that you design for a group of stakeholders and you have another type of stakeholders, ensure you check that the requirements align with the expectation on the new set of stakeholders, especially if they are completely different, maybe like technical teams, so make sure you do that. And I like that the answer also says you can develop a tailored model. There are various technical models that would suit a technical team. Okay, let's go. Great job on getting this far. Let's go to the fifth question. A business analyst is assessing a new system intended to improve customer service efficiency by enabling agents to address more client inquiries in less time. Okay, so they are building a new system that will improve customer service by addressing client issues in less time. So we want to get things done faster. To effectively evaluate this improvement, what should the BA emphasize in their analysis? Okay, let's look at the answers. Number A, option A, scheduling of evaluation periods. I don't see what this has to do with the question. If the BA is going to analyze the process or the system or the new system, I don't see what this has to do, but let's leave it for now. Metrics and key performance indicators. I like this because in building that system needs to be able to fulfill KPIs of that department. And remember, they are trying to address inquiries faster. So what that means is that if we're addressing it faster, we need to know at least what fast means. And to know what fast means, you are looking definitely at metrics and key performance indicators. So let's look at the option C, financial impact assessment. No, this has nothing to do with the question. Comparison to industry norms. No. So what matters for the system to be able to address client issues faster is we need to even define what fast means. We need to be able to define what less time means. And to do that, we need metrics to measure performance, and we also need KPIs to show when our performance is good or when it is not good. So the answer will be B. Let's look at the answer. See? Yes, B. Awesome. So we got that. Let's move to the next question. Number 6. The retail chain plans to enhance its inventory management system with a feature to optimize stock replenishment. Okay, so we have an inventory management system validated as a key need by the customer feedback. So this is a high priority for the customer. The business analyst collaborated with the product manager to establish requirements and design possibilities. Okay, so the BA is working with the product manager on requirements, proposing several ways to implement the feature. However, the implementation team finds it challenging to evaluate the strength of each proposed method. What could explain this difficulty? Okay, so we have the BA collaborating with the product manager to establish requirements and design possibilities, proposing several ways to implement. So we have several implementation, several solution options. That's what I'm saying, based on the requirements. And the implementation team finds it challenging to evaluate the strength of each proposed method. What could explain this difficulty? So let's look at the option. Option A, the team is overwhelmed by the variety of proposed methods. I don't think so, but let's just put that in the parking lot. B, the original business goals remain vague to the team. Now remember, nowhere in this question was it talking about business goals. So that is a distraction. So that cannot be the answer. The requirements lack sufficient elaboration. This is very vague, but let's look at the last option. The requirements are not mapped to specific solution elements. Yeah. So we have requirements already, and we have several solutions. And if our requirements are not mapped to our solution options, are not traceable to our solution options, that could also be a problem. So I see this more as defining design options, and it requires us to identify solution components and map requirements to them to outline how each approach works. So the answer is D, because D answers the question of why the evaluation is challenging. So we need to map our requirements to our solution options elements, and that doesn't seem to have been done. So the answer is D. Let's look at the answer D. Awesome. Let's go to the next question. Question 7. Leadership has assessed the business analysis team's output, identifying opportunities for growth. The team leader seeks to enhance the business analyst capabilities and tackle needed adjustments. Which technique could support this aim? So the leadership has assessed the BA's team's output and they've identified opportunities. The team leader seeks to enhance. So we are trying to enhance the business analysis practice for these organizations, for this organization. Let's look at the answer. A, group collaboration sessions. Now, group collaboration sessions could help us in finding opportunities for growth. But remember, those opportunities have already been identified. So that cannot be the answer. Organizational alignment. What technique? Organizational alignment is not a technique, so I would say no to that too. Lessons learned. Exactly. Lessons learned. So what the technique that can help is from this question is lessons learned, because from lessons learned, we can see issues and we can see likely remedies. So I believe that this technique, I know that this technique will support this aim. So lessons learned is the right answer. Let's look at D, team cohesion exercises. No, that does not answer the question. Let's look at the answer. This seems to be a straightforward one, so I'm not going to overflog it. And another thing I'll add is that lessons learned also, if you are doing Agile, you could get some of this information from your retrospectives. And those will help the BAs analyze their past work, identify skill gaps, and plan improvements, aligning with the goal. and this will also enable reflection on performance to improve skills and address issues. Well done for coming this far. Let's look at the eighth question. We are going to 10 questions, so let's look at the eighth one. Before final approval, stakeholders seek assurance that the solution's promised benefits are realized. Okay, before approval, the stakeholders want assurance that the solution or the benefits will be realized. Confirm these benefits are delivered and the assessment is reliable. The business analysts and stakeholders decide to track. So, what are you going to track to assure that these benefits will be delivered? A, objectives, boundaries, and solution structure. Not really. Not really. Maybe objectives, but not boundaries and solution structure. So I would say no to this. Profits, B, profits, losses, and investment costs. No. So remember, we're talking about solution value, the value and the benefits. So I would say no to that. Or there might be a better answer. So let's go through it all. Accuracy, performance variance, and trends. Yes, yes, yes. How accurate is the system? What are the performance variances? So based on how we have documented the system should perform, let's say that is here, and we notice that the system is performing here, what is the variance? What is the difference? What is the gap? So, and also the trend. So, C is a very good option. D is influences, challenges, and connections. Now, I would say this maybe now, this doesn't just work. The right answer is C. QAC, how accurate the system is going to provide benefits to the business. Performance variances, checking the gap between how we expect the system to perform and how the system is actually performing. I think that variance is also going to help us. If that variance is low, that is an assurance to the business that the solution is going to work well. And you can get that from your test reports and from your testing. Then trends, trends over time. So that's the answer. And let's see. Let's check what the answer is. C, also. Well done. If you got C, well done to you. And if you didn't get C, that is why we're doing this, trying to understand how to answer these questions and also how they apply in our everyday analysis work. Number 9. Well done. We are getting close. We're going on 10 questions now. So let's just kick it up. The car manufacturing process consists of 4 steps. So we have 4 steps: part setup, body fabrication, interior installation, and final assembly. Part setup, final assembly are performed manually by workers. Okay, so part setup and final assembly are manual, while body fabrication and interior installation are automated. So these two are automated. In part setup, a worker loads 50 components into the line after the buzzer sounds. Okay, so that's the manual operation for part setup. In final assembly, a worker attaches each finished car to his designated shipping pallet based on its order tag. What step is most likely to introduce inefficiencies into the process? Okay, so just looking at this question, I know the areas that we're going to have inefficiencies will usually be the manual step. So it could be either parts setup or it should be manual setup. So let's look at the option. Body fabrication, no. Why not body fabrication? Because body fabrication is automated. So it's automated. So there'll be less inefficiencies coming from that automated system. Final assembly. Yes, final assembly is manual. And final assembly is manual. So let me just put the dots there. Part setup. Part setup is also manual. I put a point there. Interior installation is automated, so it cannot be that. So between final assembly and part setup, which of these manual processes will introduce more efficiencies. Let's look at it. In past setup, what you are doing is just loading 50 components. That's it. You're just loading. Compared to the final assembly where the worker is attaching finished cards to his designated shipping pallet based on his order tag. There's a lot more manual work going in final assembly than is going into pass setup. So the answer would definitely be final assembly. So if you look at the manual tasks are prone to errors and delays. And final assembly, is way more manual than just loading uh, components into the line. So the answer is B. Let's look at the option and see. Let's look at the answer. Good. B. So we got that. Well done. We're in number 10. So well done for getting this far. Let's look at what is happening. A major healthcare organization has implemented a system to streamline tasks related to patient care coordination. Okay, this is like process improvements using a system. The BA is assessing this system, comparing its performance metrics to the benefit it delivers. Okay. During the evaluation, the BA identifies potential risks that might degrade its effectiveness and diminish its work. Okay, so the BA is doing a solution evaluation and has some performance metrics, and is trying to check if the um, it's trying to check for potential risk that might degrade the effectiveness of the system. What technique would allow the BA to track and manage these issues continuously? Yeah, okay. First, and option A, problem origin assessment. There's nothing like that. There's nothing like that, so I would not say that. Performance evaluation. Performance evaluation. Yes, if you look, the BA is the one doing the evaluation. And remember, the BA is identifying potential risk. So there are not issues yet. It's just potential risk. So take note of that potential risk that might. So these are risks. An issue is something that has happened. A risk is something that might happen. Okay. So I wouldn't say the answer is performance evaluation. Risk identification and mitigation. Good. Remember, BA is identifying risks. To do this on a continuous basis, the BA needs to identify the risk and also work with other stakeholders to document mitigations to those risks. I will go with C. And the last one is system boundaries definition. This is not the right answer. Let's see what the right answer is for us. Yes, it's C, risk identification and mitigation. So well done on getting to the 10 questions, first 10 questions. I don't want you to get discouraged. I want you to keep trying out more. We're going to go into other sets of 10 questions. I want you to review this. They will help you for your exam, and they'll also help you while you're working daily as a business analyst. And I will see you soon in the next set of questions.